Maybe we'll find a way to be happy tomorrow. Maybe we'll find a way to get better news tomorrow. But as of right now, the news permeating the airwaves, on radio, on television, etc., is that 2 members
officially thickens when it comes to the new off-season basketball league known as Project B, which is a new global women's basketball league that's set to launch in fall of 2026.
The clock is ticking louder than ever as we approach next season. The CBA is expiring soon, negotiations are stalling, and the league can feel the ground shifting beneath its feet. Players are restless, owners are nervous, fans are watching the smoke rise. And at the very same moment, new leagues like Project B and Unrivaled are quietly making their move, offering bigger money, real freedom, and a future that looks nothing like the WNBA.
Very interesting now, because now officially we have 2 Indiana Fever superstars. Got to remember, neither one of these players are technically under contract anymore because of the CBA and because of the fact that they were on 1-year deals, but they were Indiana Fever superstars.
Even the league's most respected voice for players' rights, Nneka Ogwumike, is now tied to Project B recruitment. Today, we're going to break down what's happening behind the scenes and much more. Because even if the WNBA survives this battle, it might lose the war that is coming next.
They also just signed Alyssa Thomas to Project B. And how does this affect the WNBA and Unrivaled? There's so much to go over today, so let's jump right in. And I want to start with the hottest topic surrounding Project B, and that is the fact that it was reported that Project B was a Saudi-funded basketball league. So, per my source today, they said with full conviction that there is no Saudi funding going into Project B. The only ties that they have to something that could be related to Saudi Arabia is the fact that they are hiring the company Sella to put on their events.
The countdown has already started. The current CBA is about to expire, and every league meeting feels like a race against time. The WNBA has quietly offered an extension to buy 30 more days, hoping to stop the crisis before it begins. But players want more than an extension. They want structural change. They want salaries that match their value, travel standards that reflect their workload, and a revenue model that finally respects the audience they brought in. Inside the league, the warnings are blunt. If a lockout happens, players lose access to training, treatment, and team facilities. Coaches cannot work with them. Young players will drift into the unknown. Even veterans admit they do not know what the league will look like in 12 months. Every message from agents and insiders says the same thing. The system is cracking. Hit like if you believe this story needs a bigger attention. The uncertainty in the WNBA right now does not necessarily create fear. It creates opportunity. A vacuum always invites disruption. That is why players are studying every option in front of them. Bigger paychecks, ownership stakes, freedom from restrictive league rules. And in the shadows, new leagues are studying them right back. What happens when the players realize they have more power than the league ever expected, because a disruptor is already here and she is not waiting.
Yesterday it was Kelsey Mitchell. Today it is the one and only Sophie Cunningham. Sophie Cunningham is going to Project B, folks. This was one of the big names that I was waiting to hear. Somebody that by Google Analytics during the season showed to be the 3rd most popular player in all of the WNBA by sheer search volume. And now Sophie is joining this league and will bring a lot more attention.
Project B did not arrive quietly. It came in like a storm, with money, vision, and a promise the WNBA had never been able to make. A privately powered league, backed by serious investors. Not simply fans with dreams, but people who already move markets and build empires. Their pitch to players was simple. Fewer games, bigger checks, total control of your own brand, and a schedule designed to protect bodies instead of breaking them.
It's a lot of tech bros getting involved in this. And one of the biggest things, one of the other realizations that I had in this conversation is that one of their main focuses for this Project B basketball league is the streaming component of it. It's not just something where it's going to have a streaming partner with like an ESPN or a Fox. And again, I'm paraphrasing here. It seems like with Project B, they're creating their own streaming service to where people around the world can watch these basketball games.
For years, WNBA athletes have lived a double life. Summer basketball in America, then winter basketball overseas, just to make real money. Exhaustion became normal, burnout became expected, and Project B stepped onto the stage and said the one thing that changes everything. You can stay home, you can make more, you can finally own your career. Comment Project B if you are in support, or WNBA forever if you don't.
My problem with all of this is it feels like in the WNBA, they are not scared to stand on their principles. They're not scared to stand on certain issues, and they're very loud and vocal about that. And like I said, they've championed themselves as being this advocacy league. So like, why not stand on this? Like, why are we backtracking now? They weren't backtracking before when all of these articles were coming out and saying it was a Saudi-funded league, it was a Saudi-funded league. They're only backtracking because they signed a player and people started freaking out about it. Fans started freaking out about it. Like, the comments were flooded on different places.
Unrivaled softened the ground first. It gave players a taste of what life could look like without endless flights, endless hotels, and endless financial tension. But while Unrivaled is still a small window, Project B offered a doorway, a real season with real salaries and real agency. That is why this new league feels less like competition and more like evolution. It does not need to destroy the WNBA to win. It only needs to take 10 or 15 of its brightest stars. Once those lights move, the entire room goes dim. Every major sport in history has faced this moment when a young system challenges the old by offering the one thing that cannot be ignored: freedom.
We all know Sophie Cunningham is now sort of taking that step up the on the stature level of popularity. So this is very interesting. There has been a lot of chatter around Project B, which is a new global women's basketball league that's set to launch in fall of 2026. The league is 5-on-5, will feature 6 11-player teams, and will take place during the WNBA offseason.
To show you how effective this league is planning to be, the leader of the players' rights movement, the figure who spent years fighting for WNBA improvements, Nneka Ogwumike, has stepped across the line. Nneka did not just join Project B. She validated it. She blessed it. She told every player watching that this new world is not a fantasy. It is a path. If the woman who built the movement for better rights walks toward the new league, what are the rest of the players waiting for? And her decision will ignite the next chapter, because it proved something frightening. The WNBA is not just negotiating with players anymore. It is negotiating with the future.
By the way, the WNBPA posted this announcement of Nneka joining Project B in their Instagram story, and that was actually crazy to me, seeing that the Players Association, the association that's supposed to be representing all of the players within the WNBA, in the middle of the CBA negotiations, is posting a league that prided itself as being a league that was going to rival the WNBA. And so the problem that I have with all of this is just stand on it. Like, you're not scared to stand on business when it comes to other things. How are you going to sign a contract, take the money, do whatever, and then start backtracking of like what is actually happening?
For more than a decade, Nigerian-born Nneka Ogwumike has been more than a star player. She has been the voice of the locker room, the backbone of player advocacy, and the steady force behind every major push for progress. As the longtime president of the Players Association, she fought for better travel, better salaries, maternity protections, health protections, and a culture where players were treated as professionals rather than afterthoughts. When teammates had grievances, they went to Nneka. When ownership wanted clarity, they went to Nneka. She was the bridge between players and power.
For the WNBA Players Association president to be the first player to sign with this league in the midst of CBA negotiations has officially put it on the radar. Why does that matter? I mean, several reasons, obviously. Nneka is at the head of the table for the WNBA in these negotiations for the players. She said in the Associated Press article announcing this move that, the equity was a big, important factor for her because women generally aren't offered that in sports, right? So that's a big deal. She's a former MVP as well. So not only is she a figurehead, for the players. She is someone with established credibility, right?
That is what made her rumored decision so shocking. With CBA negotiations still tense and the future of the WNBA unclear, she agreed to join Project B, the new challenger league promising guaranteed money, shorter seasons, financial freedom, and real agency over a player's own brand. How would it be that the leader of the players' rights movement suddenly shifted into the arms of a new structure? Fans were stunned. Commentators debated what it meant. Even players who admired her were trying to understand the message.
Not just her position, it's the fact that she's a real player going over there, still a top player in the league. And then there is the negotiating aspect of it, considering, the CBA negotiations have been heated. What has been a big sticking point? Revenue sharing. We keep hearing about Adam Silver doesn't want to share, blah, 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 blah. Well, equity, what is that? That's basically the same thing, right? You're getting the money that the league makes, or you're a part, you're an owner of the revenue that comes in. That's something Unrivaled has offered.
The symbolism is unmistakable. If the woman who spent her career fighting for internal reform chose to walk out the door, it signals that she no longer believes reform is possible. This is not a contract decision. It is a judgment on the system. It is a statement that she trusts a new model over the one she defended for years. And league executives know exactly what happens when a leader leaves. Others follow. A locker room takes cues from the person it trusts. Momentum flows toward whoever offers clarity and security. So the question now is simple. Is this a defection or is this leadership? Was Nneka turning her back on the league or paving the way for players to finally claim control of their careers? Comment below and tell us what you believe. Because after this, the league had no choice but to respond.
Somebody that by Google Analytics during the season showed to be the third most popular player in all of the WNBA by sheer search volume. And now Sophie is joining this league and will bring a lot more attention, because I think we all know Sophie Cunningham is now sort of taking that step up the on the stature level of popularity. So this is very interesting. There has been a lot of chatter around Project B, which is a new global women's basketball league that's set to fall.
Inside the league offices, the mood is increasingly tense. The expiration of the current CBA is staring everyone in the face, and the WNBA is trying to stretch the negotiation timeline as far as possible. Executives are pushing for an extension. They need time and stability, but stability is exactly what they no longer control. So a new question hangs over every meeting. How do you negotiate when the people on the other side of the table have a better offer waiting behind them? Every hour that passes increases the pressure. Every headline pushes another fan to wonder if the future belongs somewhere else. And that leads to the question every fan is whispering. What happens next? Is Caitlin Clark going to trade grounds too?
There are a lot of people wondering about Caitlin Clark, wondering in particular if she will participate in Project B. Lots of questions and conversations about that. And the other day, during a live stream of a basketball game, I believe, someone asked me if I think she should participate in Project B. And notice those are two different questions. Will she and should she? If I thought she should. Well, let's talk about both of those things.
Caitlin Clark is not just another star. She is the engine that keeps the league moving. Every economist who studies the sport points to the same pattern. Attendance spikes every time she travels. National broadcasts double their average when she plays. Merchandise tied to her name sells faster than entire team stores. For months, analysts have quietly admitted she carries almost 1/4 of the league's economic activity. That is a number that does not belong to an athlete. It belongs to an institution. This is why every league wants her. This is why owners in the WNBA hold their breath every time contract questions appear. And this is why Project B built a model that seems almost designed for someone like her. There is more control, more money, less burnout, and more space to build a global brand. These are the things she has already mastered without any structural help.
I think that there was a time, actually I know that there was a time, if you had said to me, Adrian, will Caitlin Clark participate in Project B? I would have given you an emphatic no, I don't believe so. I'm not so emphatic anymore. And so work with me here as I talk through exactly what I feel about Caitlin Clark and the possibility or lack thereof of her participating in Project B.
But there is another layer to it. Clark has dealt with tense league politics, strange officiating moments, uneven promotion, and conflicts that sometimes overshadow her play. A new league would mean a clean slate, a place where she sets the tone rather than reacting to it. But Clark is patient. She knows her value. She will not move until she knows exactly what the WNBA becomes in the next cycle. If the league that depends on her refuses to protect her, why would she stay?
I feel like hasn't been highlighted, and that seems to be one of the biggest priorities of this basketball league is the streaming and the tech behind it. Now, if you look at the people who are involved in Project B, all of them have come from the tech world and they have built big companies in that world. So it's founded by a former Facebook executive, Grady Burnett, and Skype co-founder, Jeff Prentice. So these guys come from Facebook and Skype, which were two very successful tech companies. And so it seems like the tech side of this basketball league is also of utter importance to them. And I want to read you a quote from Burnett.
Right now, the sports world stands at a crossroads. The WNBA is fighting a countdown it can no longer slow. Project B is building momentum by the day, and NECA's decision forced an entire league to confront its own future. Some fear collapse. Others see something completely different. This is not the end of women's basketball. This is the beginning of its reshaping. For the first time, the leverage belongs entirely to the players. The question is no longer whether the WNBA survives. It is whether it adapts fast enough. Are we witnessing a league fall apart or a movement rise? When the clock strikes 2026, who will truly hold the center of the sport? We would like to have your thoughts and suggestions in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos from us.